So water restoration is an amazing and a fascinating term, and because water is so contextual, it's tied to the local issues that are important in any given region. Water restoration is a term people use to describe giving back, somehow providing more water to benefit the communities, the ecosystems, the businesses that exist in a given region. And so water restoration in a place like this might be figuring out how to use less water to deliver to the crops so that there can be more water left available in the river or for another use. Water restoration in another location might be implementing a project to deliver more water to support wetlands and birds that require wetlands on their migratory pathways. So water restoration, from my perspective, is a term that describes efforts to do more with less water, and by restoring water to people, to nature, to rivers, to farms, we're able to achieve our economic goals while achieving water security.
For us, water restoration is providing wetland habitat. Water restoration is getting the water where the birds need it and at the time they need it. So in the spring, we have shorebirds that are migrating through the Pacific Flyway, and that's when they need flooded habitat to be able to land, to rest, to feed. So water restoration to Audubon is providing that wetland habitat for birds when they need it and where they need it.
Water restoration is really, in my opinion, it's looking at how we're utilizing our water resources now, and not only restoring the resource itself, but also prolonging it and making sure that it has a sustainable future. Specifically here, on the banks of this river, there's terrifying reports, that show the rates at which it's drying up. And so this idea of restoring our water usage is finding ways for us to utilize it multiple times before we send it back to the river. In addition to that, it's also making sure that we're sending it back cleaner than how we received it. Obviously, there are runoff issues and things like that. So making sure that we have deep percolation, and by the time it comes here, it's clean. Furthermore, I think that the more efficient use of water is really would help us, make sure that not only are we able to meet our current demands, but also planning on future expansions and using water more wisely into the future.
For me here in the Central Valley, it means getting the water out on the landscape where it's needed most by wildlife and the environment, and when it's needed most.
First and foremost, it means conserving water so that there is more water for natural places like rivers and wetlands, so that we can share that water with the other species on the planet. And then we can share that water with other communities of people that may not have access to clean water. Water restoration is not just about the supply of water, it's also about the quality of water. And one of the great things about wetland restoration along rivers is they cleanse water. So as the river comes up and floods, it percolates into the wetlands, it's filtered through a giant sandbars, and rivers are cleaner as a result.
Letting water flow in its natural state. The Western United States is full of irrigation systems where these farmers and pioneers were amazing at taking river channels and building dams and forcing the water to where they needed to go. The best thing for them was to put the water in a straight line. Quickest way to get anywhere. Well, that takes a lot of water quality out of that, and they were all earthen ditches. And so they changed the way that the water moved, and the water doesn't naturally want to go straight. And so our restoration is we're going to put that water back into its natural state and let it weave and wind its way through and affect more plants and more trees. So essentially from where our riparian area starts to where we do our water restoration, we'll create a waterway that goes straight from the irrigation system or the creek all the way to the main stem of the Bear River on its own terms. And so the water quality should improve. There should be more water, and it will propagate different trees and birds and everything. But that's what water restoration means to me, is just take it back to its natural state and use it correctly.